Welcome to Breaking the Silence with Arthur, Nick, and Nicole, a podcast that dives deep into stories, struggles, and triumphs of extraordinary individuals. Join me as I explore powerful narratives, uncover hidden truths, and celebrate the voices that refuse to be silenced. Whether it's personal journeys, social issues, or inspiring achievements, the episodes are designed to enlighten, engage, and empower. Get ready for some candid conversations, thought-provoking insights, and a community that believes in the power of speaking out. Let's break the silence together. Welcome to another episode of Breaking the Silence with Arthur, Nick, and Nicole, where you can unleash your inner voice. Y'all, it's getting to the end of season 3. And when I tell you that I'm so excited about ending this season and starting a new season with these amazing people, it's been a lot of amazing people to come across the Breaking the Silence platform. And I am so grateful for every one of them coming up here and sharing their story and letting me shine a light on them. So today's guest, I'm telling you, we booked a long time ago. And so it feels like, Lord, I'm just meeting her finally. So Miss Monique Pearson is the guest today. She's an entrepreneur, author, and a speaker. She has so many hats that she's wearing, and I'm so excited about jumping into this conversation and finding out how does she balance life doing all these amazing things. So after her countdown, please welcome Miss Monique Pearson to the Breaking the Silence platform. How you doing?
Hey, Nikki, how are you? That's what you were saying. I was like, man, it's been for months. So it's good to finally be here to be able to share and meet your audience. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming and being a guest and allowing me to shine the light on you because you're doing some amazing things, and I'm so excited about hearing about everything that you're doing in your life that's great. So tell everybody a little snippet about you.
Well, you pretty much share all the things that I'm doing. But if I had to describe far as about me as a person at the core, I would say definitely one who is a servant. I believe in serving. I believe in helping women to be able to show up as their highest selves. Because I know I've always had someone who stood in the gaps for me as a cheerleader, someone who mentored me, someone who saw the best in me often at times before I can see it for myself. So now I'm at a place that I'm able to be that gap filler for other women and be able to empower them. So that is at my core, I would say, who Monique is.
Nice. I love it. So what inspired you to become the CEO of SWOLE? And how did your journey lead to you finding was it well, Lord, I might say it wrong. Professionista?
Professionista.
Yes.
Yes, it's an Italian word. I lived in Italy for 3 years. So I just love, to me, and I looked up the definition of that. It's a professional in Italian, and I just love the way it sounds.
Oh.
So that's how that came to be. And SWOLE, for those who may be wondering, stands for Soaring Without Limits Enterprises, because everything that I do is underneath that umbrella. And both much started within months of each other. As the pandemic hit, as many of us who had all that time on our hands to be able to sit back, reflect, and analyze. And for me, I realized that I wasn't fulfilled. I had a good career working for the government, but that isn't what lit me up. That isn't what made my soul jump. And for me, I have known for a long time that traveling was my joy. So I was like, okay, how can I take what I love and be able to turn it into a business? So I know it may sound funny trying to start a travel business in the middle of the pandemic when we couldn't travel, but I was like, okay, this is it. We won't be closed always. But what it did force me was to become creative. And I started off with a course which teaches women all the A's and B's and C's of how to travel internationally, as far as all the documentation you need, what you need to look out for. So I created that first. It was a 5 week course. And then that led to my book, Take That Trip Girl, the Ultimate Bucket List Journal. And then it just kept growing from there each year, into my community, the Triple E Tribe, which helps to empower women in male dominated industries. And then I'm working on my third book. So I would like to share that, as far as just stepping out on one thing, you don't know how many other things will are inside of you. And as far as Professionista, that stemmed from one, me volunteering in the past, with the Dress for Success program.
Mhm.
And I was living in Philly at the time, and there wasn't an organization that was like close by. I think the closest one was like an hour and a half. So God just laid it on my spirit to, like, you started. I was like, how am I supposed to do this? I'm working full time. I was like, to start a 401c, you need a board. I was like, I don't have anybody but me. He was like, that's enough. So that was another lesson that I learned, that we don't need to have everything all together, that especially for those of us who are believers, God is going to direct and order your steps, which is exactly what he did in this situation. I just went to my inner friends group and at work, and I told them, hey, I would like to collect professional clothing, for women who are just getting back on their feet and may need a helping hand, to be able to help them to go to work and be able to be confident because they are able to fit in with their environment with the professional attire. So this started also during the pandemic. So I just collected clothes for 2 years until my garage was like full. And I finally made the connection with, Fast Track Services, which is a social services unit there in Philadelphia, who just opened up a clothing closet. So I partnered with them and was able to provide the clothing to the community. So that's pretty much the
Mm.
backstory, how both of them came to be.
Wow. So now you said that you taught women, you did a course for women to know what they needed to travel.
So basically, I just know there's a lot of nuances, depending on what countries that you're going to, and then sharing websites such as, the State Departments, where you get to find out about the warning, signing up for the Safe Traveler Enrollment Program, which is free, where you can share with the State Department your full itinerary where you're out of the country, so that you'll have eyes on you every step of the way while you're in this country. And then they'll be able to contact you, God forbid, if something happens, there's a terrorist attack, someone will be able to help you. So I'm sharing that, as far as the money conversion, all my, knowledge that I have gained from traveling now almost 30 years, I put into this 5 week course, which is I Believe I Can Fly, that they can, all of that is on my website.
Wow, you know what? I didn't know that, you can have things going on like that where there's eyes on you at all times for safety measures. So that's
Mhm.
a great thing that you're doing because a lot of people don't know that. A
Yeah,
lot of
I think,
people.
and that's what stops a lot of people, because of the fear of the unknown and feeling like, I'm all the way in this country. If
Mhm.
something happens, I don't feel safe. So I noticed that was like one of the also main things besides money that was stopping women from traveling internationally, was the fear of not being safe.
Not being safe. Exactly. So what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a leader and an
hmm
entrepreneur and how did you overcome that?
I would say, as a leader, one, I think being in a position of not feeling like I had to prove myself.
Mm.
So my background, I came straight out of high school. At 3 days after turning 18, I joined the army. So my background is ammunition, munitions, and weapons. So in that space and in that realm, there is nothing but men. Oftentimes, being the only woman in a space full of men, you already feel as if you can't walk in your feminine energy. I felt as if once I continued to, move up the ranks, that I constantly had to prove that I had a right to be there and be in a position of leadership, until I got the confidence within myself that I didn't have to prove anything to anyone. The only person that I needed to prove something to was myself. But that came with time, that came with maturity. And then, of course, being in a leadership position since the age of 21 and being over individuals who were twice my age, that just really accelerated for me to become comfortable in one being a leader. One, because not because I wanted to be because of the position of power, but because I genuinely wanted to make sure that I was serving people at the highest level that I could. And I believe for a true leader, definition of a leader, that they're not in it for the power, they're not in it for the recognition. You're in it to make sure that those who you are leading are in the best position possible to show up as their highest self, to nurture, to pour into them so that they can turn on and be leaders behind you. So that, I think, is lessons that I learned early on from the military. And then as I continue to progress in corporate America, I brought that knowledge with me into those spaces.
Wow. You're right. People think that a leader and a manager are the same thing, but it's not. A manager is going to do just what it says,
Yep,
manage. A
correct.
leader is going to care about you as an individual, your growth, and getting you to the next levels. And they're going to lead you in the right directions too. So, leaders
Hmm.
are a whole different ball game. So I'm gonna ask
It
you,
is.
what do you think about that? What do you think the main difference between a leader and a manager is?
You pretty much hit the nail on the
Mhm.
head. They're doing exactly what that job description says and nothing else. And they're there from 8 to 5, whatever those hours are. And they're looking at it, okay, I've done my job, that's it. Whereas, far as for a leader, definitely one who definitely cares about those individuals, are looking at it from a holistic approach. I'm not looking at it as far as just how well and what you can do on this job. I'm looking at far as how are you. I generally want to get to know you as an individual, what your family life is, because all of those connect for them being able to show up as
Yep.
their highest self and be the type of employee that you would like to see. And then there's always a saying that people don't remember what you said to them. They remember as far as how you treat them, how you make
You
them
treat
feel. And that is how you get retention. That is how you get employees who are loyal, those who want to go above and beyond because they have buy in. They have buy in because they feel invested in, they feel cared
them.
for. And if you allow them to have a voice and to have a piece of the vision of where that organization is going, then that is how you're going to get the best out of those individuals.
Absolutely, man. You hit that. Yes, absolutely. But people don't get that. They just show up for the money and they go home. And that's just the way life is today with certain people in certain industries. So can you share a memorable moment from a time that maybe you were speaking that impacted your audience?
Well, I am new, to be honest with you, to the speaking game. It has even, matter of fact, last year is when I first started doing podcasts. And then my first speaking engagement was, uh, matter of fact, I think it was March, March of this year.
Mhm.
So I am fairly new to this game, but I guess not somewhat new because I've always spoke on platforms as it pertains to work. But far as speaking, yeah, fairly new to the game. But I think my life experience has already prepared me for this moment.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of us feel as if we are novices and we don't have the experience because we haven't acted in that capacity. But I had to even say that to myself. Monique, you've been in this game. You may not have done it at the level that you're doing it now, but all of
Mhm.
those life experiences prepares you to be on future stages in which the moment has arrived right now, as far as being able to speak. So I think for me, being able to stand up on that stage, which was my first speaking engagement, was televised. I was
Mhm.
scared to death, but for me to be able to do it, that was like a major achievement for me, to step out of just saying I'm going to do something and doing it afraid. That is always one of my most popular models that I follow myself and that I share with women that I work with, because doing it afraid one time, the more you continue to do it, the more comfortable you're going to be, and it's no longer going to be a fear.
Right. You're right. You're right. Doing it afraid is the best thing to do because
Mm,
I'm always nervous doing something, but somebody told me here lately, keep that same energy. Always be nervous because you'll always be humble. And that stuck
mm,
with me. I'm like, wow. But I don't want to
Mm.
be nervous. I want to be able to get up here and just do it. I don't want my stomach to hurt and get the butterflies and stuff. You talking about be nervous so I can always stay humble. But
I don't know if I have to say you got to stay nervous. I think that's a part of being humble is remembering where you started from. That's a check right there as far as you weren't always, once you so-called make it, that person, and not let that go to your head. Remember your roots. For
mhm.
me, that is always my reality check. Like, okay, I'm never going to want to be in a position where I'm looking down upon others, feeling like I'm better than, because I know all that I went through to get here. And my goal is to be able to make that pathway easier for those who are coming along. And if you're not a humble individual, they're not going to relate to you because
Okay.
they were like, you don't understand where I'm coming from. So I think that also helps to maintain the humility. If you are called to help others, empower others, there has to be something in them, that in you, that they can relate to.
Exactly. Exactly. Experiences, life experiences is the best teacher for anything in life to show people that you're
Hmm.
humble. I really believe that. So we're going to go to our first break and we're going to come back and dive more into the conversation.
When the eagle spreads its wings, it's something to behold. It's something to behold. Nearly 9 feet from tip to tip, when it spreads its wings, it was built for high places. It was built to soar. I think you would say meters, about 3 meters. It was built to soar, to fly. It was built to withstand storms, so that when the storm comes and other birds run for shelter, the eagle runs into the storm and uses the storm to lift it up so that it can fly above the storm. You know you're an eagle when you ran into a storm that you thought was going to kill you, and instead of it killing you, it lifted you higher than you've ever been lifted before. It's a
So let's talk about your journey as an author. What key themes or messages do you explore in your writing? And what do you think resonates with your readers?
I definitely think, because I had two different, well, about to be three different genres of books. So the first one, Take That Trip Girl, the Ultimate Bucket List Journal, was sharing what I do with the coaching with my clients in the travel space and being able to offer that to the masses. So one, it pretty much dealt with what is your fears and limitations that you place on yourself that is stopping you from getting out there and seeing the world, getting to that mindset, because that is the start of all things,
Yeah.
before you can do anything. So I wanted them to do that reflection work, do that vision work, as far as where would they picture themselves and how do they see themselves doing it, and then giving them some tips as to how to get there. So that was the first project. The second one was Joy 365, a devotional for joy restoration. This was an anthology project that came out. It was 365 authors. So we had a
Mm,
different author for every day, starting at the age of 6 all the way up to, I believe we had an author who was in her late 80s. It was internationally women, authors from across the globe. And for that one, I had a short work entitled Penny, and that was speaking to women and young girls who were victims of sexual molestation, sharing my, not necessarily my own story, but knowing how that feels, being one who was a survivor of that space, in the value of a penny. I know most times people see it as of low value. So it was a poem that took far as that spin of far as their self-worth and their value, and showing how a penny can be turned into fortune. Just
mm,
sharing that you don't stay there in that place where you are, that far as you can still come out and walk through that and become and blossom and be the woman you want to be, and the value that there is in you that doesn't take away your value. In my third
absolutely.
project, which is going to be released in February of 2025, is Soaring Without Limits, a guide on how to transform your life. And I'm sharing parts of my story, as well as tips and guidance for those who suffer from low self esteem, from those who suffer from lack of confidence, those who mute their voice, those who feel as if they don't have anything to say, and those who have, as I stated earlier, been victims of sexual assault in some shape, form, or capacity, as to how you can take all of the stones that have been thrown at you in life and be able to build your own queendom.
Mm.
So I think I'm in different categories because I feel like I can speak to a little bit of this and that and this. So I don't limit myself to one category. I'm going to
Mm.
what God has placed on my spirit to speak to at the time in my works.
I love it. So now I gotta ask you, what date in February? Because you know my birthday is in February.
I think I put down the fourth because I'm gonna do a actual live launch, and then I'm definitely gonna have to do something virtual to invite those into that space. But all of that, I'll definitely do advertise. But pre-sales is gonna be the latter part of October, so all of that will be forthcoming.
Man, not my birthday, but that's okay. My birthday is on the 27th. I was hoping. I
Oh
was keeping hope
no, I don't want
alive.
it to be at the end of the month. We gotta kick that month off right. That's Black History Month. You know, I'm trying to show up for us.
I'm good. So I'm gonna ask you this question. I asked this question in another season to Arthur, and it was kind of crazy. We had a good time with this question. So I'm gonna ask this question again. It's an out of box question, but it's about you as an author. If your
Mhm.
enemy wrote a book about you, what would the name of that book be?
Mm, that's a good. That's an unusual question. My enemy had wrote a book about me. What would they do? I would say the stubborn one. That's what's coming to my
Mm,
spirit. The stubborn one. Yeah, I would say
stubborn.
that. The stubborn one.
So how do you manage your time and maintain balance between your roles as being a founder, a CEO, a author, a speaker, a podcaster? Because I'm just doing podcasting over here full time, what graphics too. I do dabbling a little bit more, but I'm trying to get my time together. So how are you making time to do all of this stuff?
Woo! That's why I was like, at first, that was my fear. Like, where does the time come from? But oh my gosh, when you know how to manage it, I have just uh, surprise myself with the capacity because I think a lot of times when we already tell ourselves from the gate we can't do it, you
Yeah.
can't do it. So I was like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. So for me, I'm like very anal when it comes to planning in my time. Like I map out my time from the time I wake up until I go to sleep, where that time is spent. So it's
Mm,
that accountability, and I give everything a time block. So that way, I'm one managing how much I'm investing in prioritizing where that time needs to go, and versus just willy nilly not knowing where my time is being spent. I think we lose a lot of time and figure we can't do stuff because we don't know where it's going. It's the
mm.
same way with our money. If we handled our time the way we handled our money, do you know how much we would have if people would adopt that philosophy?
I didn't look at it that way. So when you wake up in the morning, okay, you
Mhm.
have it like this. Okay, I'm waking up by 8 o'clock. So you saying you're writing down from 8 to 9, I'm gonna eat my breakfast, and then from
Oh,
10 to this time, I'm gonna check emails. Is that how you doing it?
I don't eat my meals. Now that part I ain't doing. I'm talking about far as I have my planner. My schedule is planned out for the month.
Ooh.
So I keep a schedule in my phone. I got a planner, a hard copy planner. So I typically have my schedule already known and mapped out for the month. So, like I'm saying, workout time, prayer time, as far as if I need to write this manuscript, planning out this interview with this podcast guest, reviewing. I also still do the travel business. Do I need to meet with a
Mm,
group about their trip? So I have to juggle and be able to maneuver with all those things. It has to be planned in advance. So one, I'm not double booking individuals.
right.
If I need to plan out or lay out, give myself some time, like, okay, I need a break, and I
Mm,
plan that out as well to make sure that I am at a capacity to be able to give to all these entities. Because if Monique's not good, none of this is going to be good. So that's what I mean as far as the forward thinking and being able to plan out that far in advance. That gives me comfort and security that I know
mhm,
everything is being taken care of. And then I ain't gonna lie, I started out the first 2 years doing everything myself. I have an assistant now, and I believe in the power of delegation and being able to help others ease the load, because there was no way that I would be able to maintain the level of excellence that I would like to without having help. It's not possible.
Nice. I love it. So what if I'm looking to figure out my time right now. So what if when you plan this out for that month and you
Hmm.
have say a hiccup, you have something
Hmm.
that just doesn't work out as planned, then what do you do at that point?
Well, luckily, because everything is already planned, I had the opportunity to be able to revise that plan. That's the beauty
Mm,
of it. This is my thing. So I'm not on somebody else's clock. But if you already know, okay, this is possibly coming up, this just came up, I can go to that person and be like, hey, can I move you? And then having your calendar. So that's the beauty of being able to have a plan, is that you have more flexibility to maneuver and move that plan. At least that seems to be that works out best for me. I'm just more so, I like to have some type of structure in place when it
yes.
comes to business. That's important.
Yes. I love it. Yep. See, now you're gonna make me start planning for the month instead of the 2 week mark. So the month is good flexibility. Yes,
Yeah.
got you, got you. So, in your experience, what are the most effective ways to empower women in the workplace?
Mm. One, by have emulating what you think that they need to see and be, not just matter what you say, but actually walking that talk of being that person who you are trying to help them to get to. And one, being an advocate and being the voice,
Mm,
um, and standing up for those who may not have that willpower, that courage to stand up for themselves, and showing them how they can. So that's what I was like, far as for those of us who are more seasoned, taking one of the younger ones under your wing and pouring into her. I know you may not have had that liberty, but there's no reason now why you can't reach your hand out, grab her, and bring her up. So I believe that is something that should be emulated. We don't have to wait for the job to start a program to show that there's a mentorship. There is so much power in being an informal mentor to someone, that they can have that access to you. So if we were willing to take one, teach one, and emulate that in the workplace, man, we'll be unstoppable. Or
what
more so now, I'm on that place doing that in business for yourself.
exactly, man? Powerful, unstoppable. It's so many ways that we could be if we actually thought that way.
Mm,
But you gotta get everybody to think you don't have the same mindset to get to certain levels. If everybody's not
period.
thinking that way, it's not
And
and
that's why
nothing's
you got
gonna
to
happen.
get in circles where there's like mindedness, like you just showed that video. As far as ego has no business being in the midst of pigeons, and we need to adapt that same mentality as far as the company, the circle, and where we invest our time with, because somebody is going to rub off on somebody. Are you going to be soaring, or are you going to be wobbling? Which one do you want?
Which one you want. Exactly. So what advice would you give to young women aspiring to be a leader in their fields? Because it's hard, for
Hmm.
African American women to excel to the next level sometimes. And well, depending on the industry, it's sometimes
Hmm.
hard. So what advice would you give to those young women that's aspiring to be leaders?
One, stay true to yourself, and always one, that self-belief and that self-confidence. Don't let anyone take that from you, and if you don't have it, try to work on ways that you can evolve that, because I think, me even looking back, I didn't have that at a young age. It took me time to develop that and to pour in. And some of those tools that I use for some of the young ladies who may not have that, I love now that they're starting off younger with affirming the babies and having them look in the mirror and start saying those affirmations, because your subconscious is going to pick that up, and it's not going to be just lip service. You're going to feel that in your core, in your heart of hearts. So start one with affirming in the mirror, not looking for the outside validation. Baby girl, you can go ahead and continue and start and lay that groundwork by affirming yourself, laying out those goals and those dreams, because those who fail to plan plan to fail, as far as making out the goals of where you want to accomplish and when you see yourself doing it, making it a smart goal. And that means making sure that it's measurable, that you put a time frame to it, and you come up with little actions as to how you're going to improve upon it and do it. Not just talking it, but it's actually writing it out. It's found that those who write out their goals versus just holding it there in their head have a higher chance of achieving it. And then also, when you see an adult that's possibly in your respective area that you're interested in, go up there and introduce yourself to them. Let them know, like, I really admire you. I like what you're doing. Would you be open to sharing with me as to how I can get to where you are as I continue to progress? Like, far as taking that initiative and putting that out there, that is going to be impressive to them, seeing you as a young woman coming to them with that hunger and approaching them and asking them to glean. So those are just some tips that I can share for the younger members of the audience, as to how you can show up, how you can come up into those forms of leadership, mentorship, and then, as I said, as far as minding the company that you keep. If your friends are on the same level of trying to achieve it, or are they on the other opposite end, somebody who is not in alignment to where you want to go, that means that is not a person who you should be connected to.
Wow. That word alignment keeps coming across from different places. Alignment. If they're not in your alignment with you, you don't need to be. I'm like, this word keeps circling around. But every day should start off with affirmations. That's
Mm-hmm.
something we should have. I think back now, I was like, I should have instilled this in my children to wake up every day and pretty much pour into themselves, speak life into themselves. Instead of me just doing it, they probably needed to do that themselves because it
Mm,
works. I wake up every
right.
morning and I got to look at myself and tell myself, you can do it today. You can do
Mm-hmm.
it because
Because
that's the
sometimes you
strongest
ain't
thing.
gonna have a cheerleader, so the only cheerleader you gonna have is yourself. So yes, until they can speak it for themselves, you pour over them, but then teach them how to do it for themselves too.
For
Yeah.
themselves. Exactly. This has been a great interview. So as we wrap up our conversation, I have one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work and through your influence?
I would want to say, far as that, she was a woman who empowered millions, because that is where I believe that I'm heading now. As far as not going to be contained in just the United States, I want to make a global impact as my dash. My dash is going to be so heavy because that's how many women were impacted by my mission, by the calling, and being able to make a difference in this world.
I love it. I love it. So I'm still gonna give you a BTS 30 seconds of fame. I'm gonna do your countdown. And when we come back, you're in the spotlight. I want you to tell everybody where they can follow your journey, how they can purchase your book, however you can give them information to get on your journey. Buy a book, follow your course for traveling, all these things that you're doing, all these hats that you're wearing. Shout as loud as you can, okay?
I
All right.
will. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Monique Pearson. I am an author, a speaker, far as a coach for women in male dominated fields. So you can see what I'm doing going to my website at www.IamMoniquePearson.com. I would love to invite you to join me, far as the Biz Her Way Summit, and it's www.bizherwaysummit.com. For female women entrepreneurs, it is free to join. I'll also be speaking in Valencia, Spain, November 9th for the Psychiatry Wellness Summit. Definitely check my website to see how you may join me in that endeavor. For those who are looking to grow in their travel space, go to my website and take that trip, girl, get the journal as well as the course. So definitely connect with me on all social media platforms under Monique Pearson.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest. And if there's anything that you want me to share, whether it's a link to your book or whatever you need me to share for you, I'm locked in with you forever. I will share it out. I will get you as much support as I can on my
Well,
end.
I definitely appreciate you having me on the platform, being able to share. But I think we do have a link, especially everything is connected to my website on all things swole. So long as that's on there, everybody can feel free to connect with me and get more information about how they can be a part of the movement.
Absolutely. Thanks again. And I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for everybody that come across my platform. It's some amazing people out there, and you're one of them. And I'm rooting for you on
Well,
this
I
journey.
definitely appreciate you and for giving us a platform to be able to share and get out there to the masses. I applaud you and thank you for that too.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody else out there. I can't forget about y'all for tuning into this amazing episode with another amazing guest. Man, she's wearing so many hats. Y'all have to try to visit her website. Let me put that link back up here again. We have to support each other. I say this every time I'm up here. We have to support each other. I mean, just imagine if we all supported one another, how powerful that would be. We can win together. We really could win together. So make sure you purchase that book. She has three. She got one coming out in February. So be looking out for that in February. February 4th, she said the launch starts in October. So make sure y'all stay tuned to find out more information, because once I get the information, of course, I'm going to share it so we can try to get her those book sales for February. So I always say, y'all, you matter, your life matters, your voice matters, and anything that you're trying to do in this life, you can do it. But you also have to believe in yourself, and everything starts with you. So as you go through your day today, just be kind to somebody, do something nice, and continue to break the silence with Arthur, Nick, and Nicole. So until next time, later. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Breaking the Silence. I hope that you have enjoyed our conversation today and it has inspired you to think deeper, speak louder, and take action. Remember, every voice matters, and together we can create a world where we all win and no one feels unheard. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Stay connected with me on social media for updates and more powerful stories. So until next time, keep breaking the silence and making a difference.